Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Experience Beyond podcast. In this episode, we are diving into critical role of voice of customer in driving customer success and fostering lasting change within organizations. I am Anand Nigam, your host. As co-founder and director of XEBO.ai and co-founder and promoter of Foresight CX, I am excited to guide today's discussion on how leveraging VoC can lead to better customer experiences, deeper insights, and ultimately long-term success for business. To help us explore this fascinating topic, we are joined by none other than Mr. Musa Hanhan.
Thank you.
A quick introduction. Thank you, Mr. Musa. A quick introduction to Mr. Musa. Mr. Musa is the founder and managing partner of Xperiente, a San Francisco-based consultancy dedicated to shaping transformative customer experiences. With over 20 years of expertise in CX design, strategy, and product development, Mr. Musa has been a trailblazer in building trust and loyalty for global brands. He has driven real change through customer-centric decision-making, and in 2024, he was named one of the top 50 CX influencer by CX Network magazine. We are thrilled to learn from his vast experience today. Welcome, Mr. Musa, and congratulations on being among the top 50 CX influencers.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
So, Mr. Musa, you have been in a very remarkable journey in CX, from being a managing partner at Xperiente to an advisor at Bain Company. Can you walk us through how these experiences have shaped your understanding of the voice of customer and its impact on business success?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just step back and look at the evolution of voice of the customer, because it just started back. It's more of maybe a department where they are looking for feedback. So most likely it started with the support and customer service. The main was more of service recovery, getting feedback, improving the experience. Then it got involved more of a holistic view, looking at it a more broader view of the customer feedback, not just a tactical or operation, but also strategic. That's where it became more about looking at it from the relationship across the whole journey, looking at it from the competitive point of view and the brand equity, and looking at it from the view of what happened, not just on one specific touch point, but the entire journey. So the evolving on voice of the customer came into that. In addition, the voice of the employee came in the picture that combine that. So now we are getting more data in a different type of data, looking at it. That's where the analytic came in and started getting more insights. Exactly. So now we are hearing from multi-channels, real-time feedback into more, and then with AI, start getting into the predictive feedback. That's another thing that it got evolved, and then really tied that into where it needs to be, the outcome. What exactly we're trying to accomplish? What are the objectives? So on one hand, we're getting feedback, but on the other hand, how are we going to be evolving and changing the business model or the operating model of that? So that became more correlating on that. So that became, and that's where you see some advanced capabilities as voice of the customer practice. It got into the decision making in terms of bringing that voice, the feedback, the insight into the decision making in the board or in the product development and marketing, positioning and branding, and in service and support. So this became not just a feedback only; it's becoming the way we're doing business. It's part of the feedback loop. So it's evolving, and what I see it's becoming more and more integral part of the business. It's not just nice to have, it needs to be built in.
So it's not just restricted to, say, service quality or customer service, but also it's shaping your product development, your channel development, your touch point, and so on. So it's become a larger influence in your entire business. So voice of customer is having a big impact today.
Sure. I mean, I see that even more evolving and becoming, it's not just in the customer experience department, but actually it's the whole company, as we've seen, especially with the data becoming more and more get generated by the customer interacting from different touch points, different departments, and that needs to be collected and be able to see the bigger picture of the customer and their feedback. And it is becoming an insight, because now we are understanding better the customer perception, understanding better their behavior and pattern that allow us to get to know more how we are going to be targeting not just the market, but also targeting the type of product and services that personalize them to be able to look at that. So that's the shift. I think this is it's from the thinking about from the traditional aspect of the VoC where people are doing surveys. No, it's more than that. Actually, it's becoming a whole part of the integral part of the business.
Right. And you talked about this VoC, and there are several measurements. And one of the most popular measurement when it comes to measuring voice of customer has been NPS. So with your expertise in NPS, how do you see NPS fitting into a broader VoC strategy? As feedback mechanism evolve, what are some of the emerging trends you have noticed in leveraging NPS to drive customer loyalty and improvements within an organization?
Yeah, I'm big on NPS. I look at the value of NPS as a system, not as a metric itself. And this is important because I see a lot of argument out there. It's just that really, if you look at it because I see it as a system, and I looked at it the way you look at it from the strategic level, where it could, it is the North Star metric that measuring the brand equity and measuring the competitiveness of the company compared to other companies. And then also looking at it from the operational level, it's the adoption of the whole closed loop feedback. This is the inner loop, the outer loop, that the whole process that allow you really to not just get inside the feedback, but also to say, how to be able to address that and how the customer will be able to understand what you guys are doing. So that's one thing. The big thing as well with the NPS is the open-ended follow-up question on the metric, which is it's a gold mine.
One of the most important part of NPS.
Exactly. That's that sentiment. That this is the gold mine. This is the insight. I mean, that's where I, earlier in my career when I doing the NPS, it's taking those customer feedback and the quotes and have them as part of my reports to the CEO, because these are the things to say, here's what they are saying on their own word. And that's a more powerful sometimes, even more, than the number, because that gives the sense, especially sometimes if the management have relationship with the customers and they see what they are saying. I mean, that's pretty much what you want to be able to look at it from that angle. It's not just about number of 7 or 8 or 10. It will give you the movement of understanding where the customer coming from behind the scene. Also, the segmentation analysis. One of the things that NPS really good about understanding the customer in segments and segmenting customer who are the most valued customer. And also, you can use that information to analyze the customer life value. With the latest trend, it's really about predictive NPS. This is where the advanced analytic came in the picture now and coming mainstream. 5-6 years ago, when we was talking about it, it was a little bit as a concept, but it's all about leveraging that big data that allow you to bring all the feedback, the insight, the business operation metrics, and the financial and combine it, and that allow to see even the bigger picture of the customer and be able to see it in real time now. So there's a lot of advanced analytic that be able to analyze the voice and text and allow to provide that NPS and predictive NPS that can enable the frontline to act on in real time.
Very interesting. In fact, you talked about two things here. One is the segmentation emerging from NPS. And I know a lot of companies, they monitor these 3 segments, which are like promoters, passives, and detractors. And many companies, they tell me that it's the detractors who are so valuable in terms of the feedback that comes from them actually shapes up a lot of things internally within the organization in terms of what can be done with the products, what can be done with the channels, how they can improve their staff, how they can improve their servicing model. Everything comes from this one particular segment, which is detractors, though it's always good to have more promoters. But then changes are driven by some of these detractors a lot. Have you come across some examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, and so when I was working on it, I see the detractors, and the question is who they are, because we get feedback from detractors if they are, and back again, the question to follow is like, are they important to the company? How they are interacting with company, and what's the relationship with the company? Because if they have a strong relationship with the customer, the customer and the business, it's important to look at why they are having a negative experience, feedback on that. So we want to be able to act on it. Definitely. So there are quite a bit. I mean, in my career, there's a lot of customers that big customers provide feedback, that negative feedback, that it triggered that next step to say, I ask what happened. That could be a deal was not quite went the way they were looking at it, or the service didn't go the way they like to see it. But it's important also, you want to look at that and balance, because as you know, sometimes that very negative, not necessarily it's the way it is. So you have to really be objectives around it, and look at it from the angle to say, are there only those people, or comparing to the passive compared to the promoters? Because you want to be able to look at, again, back to the business. If you are early in your journey maturity and you want to focus on the detractors, that may be good. But then also as you evolve, you want to be able to look at other segments. The passive, why is they are passive? Because you can be able to move them to promoter. So what are the gaps? What are the pain points that you want to be able to look at? And business also have to decide, maybe the detractors are not the right target. And that's another thing, strategically looking at it. Are they on the right target for the business? Right. And the question always to say, you want to divorce your customer, because if they are not fit, then that's where you need to be able to make a decision, because you want to be able to have a business that serve the customer target that you're looking for, the customer looking, because that's the analysis that you start looking at it and becoming more and more value. Because if you are not going to be able to serve that segment, then maybe better off serve a segment that going to be able to enjoy the product and services that you are offering, enjoy the relationship that you are with. So it's one of those things that really looking at it, not just that becoming negative, but also look at what's that why, ask, and then also how you're going to, is this something going to be aligned with the business objective that you are after?
No, very, very interesting point, because most of the time clients, they end up focusing on detractors to identify nuggets which can be used to improve their products, services, or processes. But it's very interesting to do the profiling of these detractors and understand whether they are the right target segment for your business or not. And as a business, there is a decision here whether you are reaching out to the right target market or not. So which is very interesting analysis that you talked about.
Yeah, I mean, one example that we did one time, the product, it's serve as high end in the market. And now what happened is it started going down market and serving a smaller size customers. And that was not a good fit. And that's why you get the gap. And that's why you see the detractors, that question. Another opportunity, maybe offering a new service and products to this segment, and that allow you, and that's where the innovation comes in. That's where product development came in, to understand, that because that gives you also an opportunity to say, if this is something that we want to serve that segment, then we need to have a solution and to them. Otherwise, you want to be able to look at it a little bit differently.
Great. So one more area I wanted to explore, Mr. Musa, is many clients, they struggle in incorporating or integrating voice of customer into their business processes, which can lead to real-time action for the business to flourish. Now, based on your experience, you have worked with so many companies where you have implemented customer experience program into their ecosystem. Based on your experience, what these companies should be doing in order to integrate voice of customer into driving actionability or within the business's ecosystem to make it more sustainable?
Well, back to my early question, that the voice of customer is not just one department, it's across the company. So one of the things that you want to be able to do is really to have the cross-functional team that allow to look at it from the holistic point of view. Because one of the things that you want to establish, that's the practice. This is where you bring people cross from each department or group or teams that be able to talk about the customer feedback, because some of them are cross-functional. Many times, these feedback, when it comes, you can handle it by support or by product feature, but a lot of time it's a cross-functional feedback that allows really to be able, and that is the trigger, I would say, if you haven't done it, but a lot of companies now they have sense of maturity in the VoC. It's a trigger that discussion around how you're going to address that cross-functional feedback, able to whether it's a solution or a new product and services, or whether enhancing process. And that's where you start really getting the feedback into the operation. And I said, the mature VoC, it has already integral part of the operating model inside the company, meaning that the operation are taking that feedback pretty much as part of their process day in, day out, because that's where they're going to be. It's the engine that they're going to be to improve on. So to be able to do that, step one is to have a team. Step two is really to look at the feedback out there more tactical, address that, one department can address it, or is it cross-functional that require multiple departments? And that's where the operation department comes in and be able to look at it from the project office or transformation office. It depends on the company's name. But also the third aspect of it is to start analyzing it, to start be looking at it from where's the pain point in the journey. Identify the pain point. Where are the pain points that really the customers struggle? Understanding the depth of the pain, and then also understanding the segment they are in. And then that's the analysis that you start looking at it, and then to say, all right, what's the impact on the customer experience? Is it impacting a small segment or large segments? Is it impacting the revenue, the retention, the loyalty? Looked at that and then be able to say, all right, how are we going to do it? Is it worth doing it? Are we worth investment? Is it, there is an impact on the business, because anything you want to do, there's a change. You're going to be on the resources, on the cost. So those are the two.
Continue, please.
Oh, so those are the important, because understanding the customer impact, understanding the organization impact, which is from the cost and revenue, and that is aligned with the objectives, and be able to evaluate to say, all right, next step, are we going to do it, and how we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it, and how much it's going to cost us.
So correct. So I wanted to link that many businesses, yes, they have moved away from having customer experience as a siloed department to having a more integrated team, which is working across the organization. Multiple people, multiple stakeholders are involved in executing customer experience related initiatives. But how about linking business outcomes or business objectives with your customer experience program, with your VoC program? How successful are the organizations in linking the business outcomes and business objectives? Because at the end of the day, many clients, they say that, okay, we are doing all these things, but how is it driving sales? Or how is it helping us to drive our revenues? So how do we look at linking these initiatives to business outcomes and business objectives?
That's a good question, because that's the struggle, that's the challenge. And I can tell you it's not easy, but also you have to do it, because that's where you start looking at it from the customer. And that's where we would correlate that customer feedback, customer metrics to the financial metrics. You got to make that connection. If you are not going to be able to make that connection, you're not going to be able to show value of what you are doing. And that's why the last few years, VoC got hit, because was not able to present the value to the business. It is part of setting up the program, is to be able to link, and that's where you start looking at it from bringing the CX metric, financial metric, operation metric, and start correlating that, and be able. Now there are tools available to do that. It's not like before, where you can do it a lot of manual. Now it's tool. It's really to build a framework around what's the understanding what are the main objectives of the company, what are the most important metrics, outcome metrics that the CEO, the CFO is looking after. Be able to say, all right, how are we going to be connecting? Because by doing that, that's where you are prioritizing now the improvement.
Right.
How this impacting sales, how retention, how going to be impacting the loyalty. By doing that, then be able to start focusing on what matter to customers, as well as what matter to the business. So unless you have to, you want to be able to balance that. If you are not going to be able to see that picture, it's going to be hard to justify the work that you are doing.
Absolutely. I think it's important for these initiatives to show impact or to be tied up with the business objective, and that's the leadership role, how they define and how they are able to get everyone to rally behind these initiatives which are linked to the outcomes.
Definitely. And I just want to add, this is where it comes from top down. It's not just from bottom up. I know there's a lot of programs coming from bottom up, which is fine. You can do more tactical, but if you want to do really strategic and impact on the experience, then it needs to be from the top, because the top going to define what it is, and then be able to say, I believe in program, how we are going to be able to bring that into a way, as part of decision making. Because now doing this, actually, that allowed management to decide on what are based on their objectives, based on the customer needs, and to say where we're going to be able to, where we want to invest, what are the improvements that we want to do. And then that's where that you start measuring the value.
Another challenge, important challenge, which many of the organizations are facing is that today we are in digital first world. And you have spent a lot of time on the tech side of CX. You have been involved in a lot of digital transformation, which is, we know that it's changing the landscape in which the businesses operate. Now, how has this shift influenced way businesses collect, analyze, and act on customer feedback? And what do you see the future of VoC in this digital first world?
Where I'm going to be starting here. Well, it's definitely the digital transformation changed the way we collect, we analyze, we act. And it is becoming more and more critical and became in real time. Before we do surveys, it's dead. I said that in 2018. Surveys is not going to be a surveys in the way that we know about it today. It is, and it's going to be less and less critical to the VoC. What it is the data that get generated. Mm-hmm. From the interactions.
So looking at it from data, observational data,
behavioral data, operation data, financial data. Those are the data that's going to be the new gold mine. The way that you're gonna get inside and be able to look at it, because and think about it, because this data is not just coming from one resource. It's going to be multiple resources. So now, because the customer, they are interacting with multiple departments, multiple people, different type where they are in the stage of their journey. So bringing all that data that allow to get insight into the customer, and that's where the next step is that personalization comes in the picture. It's not just about feedback, but also how you're going to present that to the customer through that feedback, and be able to serve them more targeted on what they're looking for. Is not the next thing is not generic. It's more specific to a person, and that's where, and that's proactive, because now you are predicting what's the likelihood, to do the next steps or anticipate. So you have that, and then be able to act more proactively in a sense, and be able to do that. So it's important that the VoC is not that way we are seeing today. It's really becoming a well integrated into the operation and the business model of the company, because that you are going to be able to serve better, faster, in real time, because that's what the customer expectation looking at it. Say, hey, I'm interacting with you in real time. Why you are not responding to me in real time? Or what's happening when I have a problem, or I'm looking at something and it's not. You want to be able to proactively to say, oh, okay, are you looking at, and then how they can serve, and be able to, the front line actually be able to understand what's happening, and then be able to serve them better. So, I mean, one of the things that on VoC, I don't know if you want to call it VoC or not, but real-time recognition on voice or text or visual, I should say. I mean, in real time now, analyzing my voice, if I am upset,
your voice, your facial
angry,
expression.
Exactly. And be able to right away in real time, the frontline employee can be able to adjust or escalate to supervisor, be able to handle that. Right. Before you send a survey, it's more past interaction or past experience. Now it's in real-time experience, and maybe even predicting experience as we go with this. So looking at it, it's going to be more and more. It's back again to the data and the resources, and be able to connect that. And that's what I see. The VoC is not a department. It's becoming a whole company, as we are doing in the next few years. And with that, there's the risk and the important about how you're going to set up these systems, and the security and the privacy of that, because it's critical. It's not just to get feedback, but also it's part of who I am on these feedback. So it's important that setting up those guidelines, where it's important that you have safeguard in terms of the privacy, the data, the customer, that be able to customize, control over their feedback, not just their data, but also their feedback as well. So it's important that this area, it needs to be really get invested, because that could be a negative impact if the business cannot optimize it and be able to adjust their business model.
Absolutely. And it was very insightful, this discussion. Now I want to move to a more lighter part of our discussion today. It's a rapid fire. I will ask you some questions which are randomly generated. I don't know what those questions are. My system will randomly generate. I'll ask, and you can give one word answer, yes or no. So hope you are ready for that.
I'll try my best.
So let's see. What's the first question? Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Espresso.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
What's one part of customer experience that doesn't get enough love?
That's a good question because there's quite a bit. I think and I'm gonna my response is gonna be a little bit longer than I expected. But customer experience, I think it depends where the buzz, which is I need to remove that buzz. Like now we have the AI buzz that impacting, which is will be a positive and negative impact, but that is still a buzz because it still is not. But I need to remove that. It's important to look at the fundamentals of the practice. For example, we talk a lot about culture. It's the mindset, and there's not a lot movement there. There's more on the surface, not the deep. It's for me the most need more attention. How you position CX as a mindset.
Right. What came to my mind when I was reading this question, what one part of customer experience that doesn't get enough love is from your conversation earlier, the passive customers. I think we sometimes forget about the passive customers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because what happened is, they are a lot. I did a lot of studies around passive customers, by the way, and the way I did reach out to them just to understand the logic behind it. They say we are satisfied, but we are not wowed.
Correct.
I mean, that's very important. Love. Yeah, so it is like if your business. By the way, if your business you want to be only mediocre, meet expectation, that's fine. But if you want to do, it's talking about experience and provide. Some businesses might be more important than others. It's really to get that extra, provide that extra love.
What's your favorite way to unwind after a busy day?
Oh, I like to cook. That's my nice. Therapy, I would say.
You will have a happy wife. If you had to pick one CX metric to track forever, what would it be?
I believe in NPS.
Nice. Best piece of advice you have ever received?
Don't be emotional.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. How does it work in CX though?
That's why I got the advice. And early in my early career, I am very passionate about the subject, by the way. And when things it doesn't work the way you want to be working, and you get a little bit more emotional. And yes, I got the advice from the management is you want to be more we understand your passion, but at the same time you want to be able to manage the emotion side of what I am. So definitely it was an eye opener because when you love something to do day in day out, that's one of the things. And when I wake up in the morning, I do have something to do. I want to make. That's the purpose of a lot of people who work in SCX. Their purpose is to make people's life better. Right. And be able to help and understanding that, but not everybody at the same page. So how are you going to be able to communicate that?
A very big thank you, Mr. Musa, for sharing all these insights on how VoC can lead to real customer success and transformation. It's been incredible learning experience discussing the impact of customer-centric change with such leading expert like you are, who has got a technology background as well as hands-on experience of implementing digital transformation and driving CX at many organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and pleasure. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
It was a pleasure. And to my audience, if you found this episode valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on many more discussions on driving customer success. And of course, leave us with your comments on how we can improve or bring this subject better to you. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, keep listening to the voice of customers and shaping experiences that last. Thank you so much.